Hey guys, and welcome to Pheas Airsoft, where today I'm going to do an unboxing and review on these T238 brushless motors. Hey guys, and welcome back. If you do enjoy this content today, please do consider liking, commenting and subscribing, because those interactions will get seen by the YouTube algorithms. That helps the channel grow. If you want to support the channel a little bit more, the link down below will take you to all of my socials, including my Discord. Stop by and say hello. And if you want to support the channel at the highest level, the join button down below will take you to channel memberships. 99p a month, totally optional, really appreciated. Custom videos, giveaways and more of a say in the channel. So that stuff's out of the way. Let's get on with what I'm really excited about today. So T238 contacted me after their daybreak sort of suppressor tracer and chrono unboxing and said, we've done some new brushless motors, do you want to have a look? Yeah, I want to have a look. I absolutely want to have a look. So we have got all three models of their brushless motors, their new brushless motors. Now, the main difference that I can see from their previous brushless motor is there is no adjustment screw on the end to adjust the speed. However, all the other features are there. So let's just kind of go through the crazy feature set that's in these. So they've branded them up as quick response, high efficiency, low noise brushless motors. So a typical airsoft motor runs on basically a magnet-based brush-based system, which more or less puts a finite lifespan on them without replacing the brushes and things like that. They generate heat with active braking, which is using the motor to stop the gearbox spinning. That's done away with brushless motors. They don't generate the heat that traditional airsoft motors generate. They certainly don't work a lot, typically faster and more efficiently as well. So I think the rating is about 86% efficiency in terms of like conversion of energy to rotation, things like that. And they've done three particular models. So at the, I was going to say bottom end, but that makes it sound like it's a lower end product. So the lowest RPM motor that they do is a 25,000 RPM motor, and typically that is signified by 2250 kV on the end there, so we know that that is the slowest of the motors. Now they are really well presented in a nice little box. There is a bit of a sort of disclaimer there, and just to make that disclaimer certain, basically they can't guarantee and they won't offer a guarantee or warranty if you are using it with other ETUs, but make sure that if you are using it with another MOSFET system, you turn off active braking your MOSFET, because it's probably going to cause issues. We've seen that with other brands of brushless motors. That's because there is a controller in the end of the motor here, and it will handle its own active braking, so as to not be worried about and things like that. It is best paired with if you're going to pair it with a MOSFET, it is best paired with T238's own brand of MOSFETs is the best pairing in there. And then don't use it more than 12.6 volts. Don't reverse the polarity, obviously standard safety sort of thing. And don't try not to load it, basically power it in an unloaded state. So, you know, out of the gearbox, try not to sort of power it. They are CNC manufactured, which is aluminium, so they are really light. Considering the weight of some of the traditional airsoft motors, that is super light. So if you are looking to lighten your sort of weight load a little bit, there is a saving to be had there. We've got a lovely clear marking of the positive and the negative, as well as the little bit of shrink wrap, which I will be taking off. Obviously we've got it clearly marked on there. So they are absolutely lovely. So this is the 2250 kV, which is the 25,000 RPM. We've then got a 28,000 RPM, so we're sort of taking a step up there a little bit in speed. So this is 2520 kV marked up on the end there. Again, really nice, lovely cut, really lovely sort of blue effect to it. Anodized, is it anodized? I don't know if that's the right term to use. Again, just pristinely cut. It is a D-type pinion on the top there, so obviously if you are looking to change compatibility issues and things like that, obviously you've got that option there. We've then got the third option, which is 37,000 RPM, which is absolutely just insane. That's marked up as 3350 kV. Again, other than those numbers on the back, there is no discernible difference between the three motors. There's certainly not any weight difference between the three of them at all. Really, really nice looking piece of kit. So, moving on to the testing then, and what I've got. Now, unfortunately, when I've done brushless motors in the past, I don't have any of those options available to me anymore. But what I have got, and sort of what we're going to test it in, is I've got Jingong MP5, which has had an M-Lock handguard 3D printed by me for my daughter, and an end cap put on it because she's only little, bless her, and she just likes something small and light. So I've got that that we're going to test. We've also moved that out of the way a little bit. We've also got, move those out of the way. We've also got my Double Eagle EK47, again, long shaft motor. These are all long shaft motors. Stock, you know, absolutely standard, should be a good test setting. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at stock, the trigger response and the rate of fire using my normal unboxing battery. So we've got the 7.4 and we've got the 11.1. So we're going to get quite a few combinations to look at the stock performance, then compare it to the 2500, the 2800 and the 3700. Now, I think the 3700 is going to be absolutely insane, and I am both excited to try it and worried for the internals, because I think it's going to be absolutely mental rates of fire. So I'm going to cut to doing the various things. So in terms of the trigger response, all I'm going to do is put it in single shot, and I'm just going to show you doing 5 or 6 probably dry firing shots. Not ideal to do dry firing shots, just to show you what it's like with each of the motors, including the stock, 7.4 and 11.1, and then do the same with the EK47, and then basically come back at the end and sort of give you my general overall impressions about how I've found it all. So enjoy the next section, and I'll be back in a second. It's not bad, just a bit, you pull the trigger and it just feels a bit slow. Trigger is much more instantaneous. It's like almost instantaneous. Trigger response, oof. That's all like, it's like having a DSG. That is that snappy. Insane. Ooh. It is so instantaneous. That is insane. It's okay, it's just a bit sluggish. 11.1. Lots better than 7.4 on stock, but still there's an element of sluggishness there. Guns, a little bit better than it was, still not much better, but we are only on a 7.4. Trigger response, now we're getting there. That's really snappy, really getting short. We're really getting that snappiness now that it lacked on the stock, and a little bit on the 25,000. Oh man, that's sweet. That's so like instantaneous, it's unbelievable. Oh. That's like DSG responsiveness right there. That is so instantaneous, it's unbelievable. Four. About 11 and a half rounds a second. About sort of 19, just short of 20 rounds a second. About 10 and a half rounds a second. 16.9 rounds a second. Fire. 11.1 rate of fire. Oh, the mag's not actually keeping up with that. That is over 20 odd rounds a second. That's insane. Yeah. Sort of 12 rounds a second, just over 12 rounds a second. Wow, that's much more like it. Wow, sort of like 19 rounds a second. Rate of fire. So we've got a 14 then, so like over 13.5 rounds a second. Oh, wow. Easily 23 plus rounds, that's insane. Not really any different to the previous motor. Oh. Now we're talking. Still only looking at like 19 rounds a second. Wow. You're getting 16.9, you're getting close to 11.1 rate of fire on a 7.4. Oh my God. Wow. 29.5 round seconds. Wow. Still only like 15.5 rounds a second. I think this is probably, I mean, it's an improvement. This might be down to the MOSFET that's in it. Here we go. Wow. (24, 23.5 rounds a second. That's insane. Okay, so I am back. I've made an absolute mess of BBs everywhere, but it's been totally worth it because I have learnt a lot and sort of enjoyed that immensely. So, as I said before, I'd look at the trigger response on both, on the stock, the 25,000 motor, the 28 and the 37, and I'd do it on both the 7.4 and the 11.1. I found on both of them, on the stock motors, as I expected, quite sluggish on the 7.4 and just no real sort of get up and go about it. Just kind of like, yeah, I'll turn over. It's like I'm in a teenage child. It was like, yeah, I'll get up and do it eventually. 11.1 was definitely better on both accounts. Still not amazing, but I wasn't expecting an awful lot from the stock motors on either of these. I found that the 25,000 RPM motor, the one that's labelled up, the 2250, wasn't massively better. There was definitely a little extra snappiness to there. It wasn't quite as sluggish, but on the 7.4, and it was definitely a bigger improvement on the 11.1. It didn't offer much over the stock motors. Coming to the 2800s, again, only a marginal gain on both the 7.4 and the 11.1. As I would have expected, the 37,000 really just came alive and just sort of popped off, and you just got such an amazing, almost, it was like having two DSGs, which is dual sector gear setups. It was that snappy and responsive. I was really, really impressed at how snappy those were. So, you know, in terms of trigger response alone, if you're looking for the trigger response, either of these two options is going to be a really, really good option. Twinned with a MOSFET is probably going to be your best option for that even better sort of return on your trigger response. So in terms of rate of fire then, we'll go down the sort of 7.4 route, down the MP5 and compare it. So stock, we got like 12.5. The 2500 motor gave me about the same, about 12.5 rounds, 12-ish rounds a second. So it wasn't a drastic jump up. At the 2800 on the 7.4, we got 13.5, just over 13.5. We had a random 14.2 in there at one point, and then we jumped up to sort of 16.9 when we got to 37,000. Now, on a 7.4 with that fastest motor, we were getting bordering towards what is often the stock 11.1 rate of fire, which is often about 18-ish rounds a second. So that, for that to produce that kind of rate of fire with a 7.4 in that, which is completely stock internal, it's stock standard wiring, I was really impressed. In fact, I was a little bit frightened for it when I got to the 11.1, the rate of fire on that, because that is still the plastic tooth piston. I wasn't expecting that to survive, but it did. But not only that, it blew me away with the rate of fire results, particularly for the 11.1. So the 11.1 then, stock, we got like 19.9 rounds per second. Now it did start to jump up quite quickly here. So we gained, so on stock 11.1, we got 19.9 rounds per second. On the 2500, the 11.1, and to be fair, you probably want to be running on an 11.1 to get the best out of them. We're getting sort of like over 22-ish rounds. The mag was sort of struggling a little bit at one point. You know, we were getting 22 rounds easily out of that. That's quite a marked improvement there, that we're getting sort of like about three and a bit half rounds a second extra, and it just felt a lot snappier, as you would expect on 11.1. Jumped to the 2800 then, we were sort of hitting 23 rounds a second, pretty much on the nose with the 11.1, and it felt a little bit frightening, but in a good way, like, wow, this is just blowing me away, and it felt great to shoot. And you know, really snappy and responsive. And then the 11.1 on the 37,000 really just come alive then at that point, didn't it? 29.5 rounds a second, like, oh my lord. I didn't think that was going to be capable of keeping up or doing it, but it did. I don't know how long it would keep it going, but I was impressed at how well that got on and did it. Really impressed. So coming to the EK47 then, we'll do 7.4 again. Stock, 10.5 rounds a second, quite disappointed. Trigger response, a little bit sluggish, little bit better, miles better by a country mile. So, you know, the increase in speed is going to get you that increase in response time. So stock 7.4, we got 10.5 rounds a second. Then we went to 12.1 rounds a second, which is, you know, we've taken a jump up nearly 2 rounds a second there. Then we moved to, I don't know if you can hear that, but the neighbours are gardening excessively loudly. So stock 10.5, 2500,000 motor 12.1, so we took like nearly 2 rounds per second. We didn't gain an awful lot then to the 2800. I'm not sure if this is down to the MOSFET. This is not a T238 MOSFET, this is default. It's not the advised way of doing it. I've gone, you know, just for a testing bed just to see, and I was a bit disappointed really. But 12.7 rounds per second, which is only about half a round a second gain from that to that. That said, there's not, you know, 25,000 RPM to 28,000 RPM, not that big of a jump. We've then got like a 9,000 RPM jump. So we've gone from 12.7 at this point with a 7.4 to 15.3, which we've got from stock, which was 10.5 to 15.3. That's a marked improvement, isn't it? You know, and on this one, on a 7.4, we went from 12.5 on the stock on a 7.4 to 16.9 rounds per second on that kind of motor. So there is a marked improvement there. So 11.1 then, we got 16.9 rounds a second, which wasn't massively impressive. 2500 jumped to much more where I would expect a typical sort of AG to be stock, which is about 19 rounds a second on the 11.1, but felt much more snappy and with it. We gained very little, basically 19 rounds a second was coming out on this one, on the 28,000, and then we jumped up to 23.4, just sort of 23.5 rounds a second on the 11.1 with a 37,000 motor. And it felt great. It felt like the kind of level where you might want it to be. Now, obviously, don't forget, rate of fire isn't everything. That trigger response is often very important, actually. And that was, particularly if you're looking for that almost instantaneous shot without getting DSG, maybe the 37,000 is where you need to be looking. They have been very, very quick and easy to just drop in. They are long shaft motors. So if your AEG takes a long shaft motor, they are literally just drop-in replacements. Don't forget to just adjust the motor adjustment screws to match the difference in height. It might be that you need to tighten it in a little bit or let it out a little bit just to compensate. Some of the sounds from the camera don't pick them up quite as nice as they should do. That one is definitely a little bit scratchy. That lacks a lot of the movement range that other options have, typical like an AR style trigger guard, pistol grip. So ignore the sound a little bit. It was more about the rate of fire sort of thing. So 3 fantastic little brushless motors. They are not cheap, you know, they are sort of, I'm going to say now, as of August 24, they're about 70 to 80 pounds, you know, Great British pounds. But they can be quite transformative. That is stock standard wiring, and the fact that I could get 30 rounds a second out of that, and I've done nothing internally other than chuck that motor in it, an 11.1, that's insane. That's absolutely insane that that was able to do that. You know, the motor is not amazing, and that offered me a marked improvement over the stock motor. Fantastic little bits of kit. Do keep in mind the disclaimer that they work best with T238 MOSFETs. Any of their MOSFETs, the version 2 based MOSFETs, will be perfect with these. They will not offer you warranty or any guarantees if you're running it with another brand MOSFET, and make sure that active brake is turned off on the MOSFET, because this does the active brake. As soon as it detects that the trigger's stopped, it will activate its own active brake, and you don't want them competing each other because that can cause issues. Just lovely little bits of kit, marked improvements to be had over stock motors. In terms of heat, I did want to comment on heat. After each one, I took the motors out, and they were basically cool. When I took the stock motors out both times, that was relatively cool. That was a little bit warmer because it had obviously been running some active brake on itself. All 3 motors stayed really quite cool, to be honest. Barely warmer than the temperature in the room, which is sort of like about 20 degrees at the minute in this room, and they were barely warmer than that. So genuinely impressed with the quality of those. The links are down below to go and check them out. Please do consider them if you are looking for something a little bit special to put in your build. Hope you enjoyed that. Massive thank you to T238 today for sending me these out to try out. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.